resources are depleted, humanity turns its gaze to the sky. The moon is a valuable treasure trove, containing many valuable resources. Gold, platinum, and many rare earth metals await extraction for use in next-generation electronic devices. Non-radioactive helium-3 isotope will be the fuel source for humanity's future. But there is an extremely precious resource that humanity craves.
If it can be extracted, the dream of living on the moon will become reality.
That is water. Why? Because if you split water into hydrogen and oxygen, then liquefy them, you get rocket fuel. If you can refuel in lunar orbit or stop at an orbital station,
your spacecraft won't need to carry large amounts of fuel at launch anymore.
S payload will make escaping Earth. Besides reducing launch costs, extracting fuel in space can limit launch risks.
According to NASA estimates, there are about 600 million tons of ice on the moon to extract.
Other calculations suggest the moon's reserves could reach 1 billion tons. If extracted efficiently, the moon will become humanity's outpost, helping reduce travel costs to Mars and beyond. But the first problem is funding. Everyone wants a piece of the unripe pie. The European Space Agency plans to build a village on the moon near mining areas. S. Chong. S mission is also an effort to map ice at the moon. America also has its own plans for lunar ice. NASA has proposed the Artemis Accords, a set of rules for lunar mining operations. The name Artemis is also used for the program to return American astronauts to the moon this decade. Artemis is an important step to establish American presence on the moon, and also an effort to lead developed countries in managing the moon. The U.S. proposes safety zones alternating with mining areas to avoid conflicts between nations and companies. However, no comments indicate how extracted water will bring benefits.
Countless challenges hinder progress to the moon, such as the cold temperatures of space, cosmic radiation that can kill humans, along with harsh environments that corrode equipment. Large human teams will not be able to extract efficiently. Autonomous technology is not yet reliable enough, not to mention lunar dust can cause machinery to break down quickly.
Not to mention refueling on the surface and in lunar orbit is hindered by many factors,
such as microgravity and a regolith covering the moon's surface.
After landing people on the moon, NASA also wants to build a ground outpost and reach space by 2028. This vision is both close to current timelines and more like science fiction than reality.
Extracting and filtering water is a difficult problem,
even assuming humans overcome all the above difficulties. How difficult would extracting water from the moon be?
First, water on the moon is not easy to obtain at all.
Julia Estopa, a researcher at the Lunar and Planetary Institute, issued a warning. It's not a block of ice or large mass like a glacier.
Water on the moon exists as small ice particles mixed with soil,
mostly located in sunless regions near the poles.
At these two frigid points, temperatures reach 40 Kelvin, equivalent to minus 233.15 degrees Celsius, keeping the ice stable and unchanged in the near future. The mixture is contaminated with metals and many other complex substances.
In 2009, NASA's LCROSS mission crashed a rocket into the moon, launching surface rocks into the air.
The analysis of collected soil showed water density only accounted for 5.6% of the mixture's total weight.
Although the data is 10 years old, it shows even when separating ice from lunar soil, it remains impure. It needs thorough filtering before use in fuel production. Jagger Sowars, a space architecture engineer at Colorado School of Mines, along with more than 10 other researchers,
published a report in the journal Protea, describing an efficient method for processing ice on the moon. Concave mirrors are placed around impact craters containing ice, directing light into areas submerged in darkness. Solar energy will heat the ground up to 220 degrees Kelvin, equivalent to minus 53.15 degrees Celsius, warm enough for water ice to sublimate.
A transparent canopy covering the ground and ice will prevent water vapor from escaping,
guiding it into large aluminum chambers where the vapor is frozen again.
Rovers or manned vehicles will transport the ice to a refining plant. Here,
water will be separated into hydrogen and oxygen
through electrolysis and then liquefied to produce rocket fuel. Truss Astronautica Corporation, based in California, is also aiming for the same goal. They plan to build tall towers
with solar panels to collect energy and melt ice,
then use radio waves, microwaves, and infrared radiation to sublimate the ice. Roger Showers commented that
no step in this process is particularly novel.
They have all been applied in industrial production lines. Moreover, the moon's weak gravity could support infrastructure construction and material transport. However, the process will still require manual intervention.
Ensuring labor safety and quality of life for workers on the moon will consume significant resources and energy.
Some companies also plan to use AI-controlled autonomous robots for water filtration tasks on the moon. But the project remains largely in the realm of science fiction. In reality, no techniques or projects are ready for deployment.
Even though lunar exploration robots can withstand low temperatures and cosmic radiation,
we do not yet know how long the infrastructure will last.
Regions of the moon alternately receive sunlight.
Being submerged in darkness for up to 2 weeks will disrupt production activities. According to Finn Messer, an engineering expert at the University of Central Florida and co-author of the new study,
the biggest technological challenge of the lunar mining project is the water filtration process.
Since we do not have samples from the moon, it is difficult to manufacture specialized filters.
Impurities can make fuel from liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen useless, or worse, cause instability, leading to explosions.
Mr.
Messer predicts that lunar mining projects will continuously fail in the early stages.
He said, "I don't think the technology being designed and built today will work perfectly on the moon.
But I believe there will soon be many industrial activities on the moon in the coming decades."
Water is a precious resource in deep space and an essential component for human life. For a long time, researchers had known about the existence of water on the moon. Water was first detected on the moon in 1971.
Water ice in the permanently shadowed polar regions was first discovered in 1976,
when the Soviet Lunar
24 probe sent ice samples from the Sea of Crises. Exploration samples were taken from a 2-meter deep drill hole. The amount of water molecules increased significantly with depth.
In 2009, scientists had evidence of frozen water on the moon's surface. The U.S. space agency NASA announced the discovery of water on the moon in 2020. Recent studies suggest water may be much more accessible than previously thought. Moreover, water can be used for drinking, providing fuel, and for other purposes.
Previously, water was thought to exist only in permanently shadowed areas,
receiving no sunlight on the moon, making it very dangerous for astronauts to access. Besides water, the moon has another ideal energy source, which is helium-3. This is a valuable fuel source because it can generate extremely high heat through nuclear fusion reactions while emitting almost no harmful radioactive neutrons.
Helium-3 could provide endless energy for spacecraft exploring deep space in the future.
Scientists have found radioactive elements like helium in lunar soil. After thorough analysis, they discovered a large amount of helium-3. Why does the moon have so much helium-3? The reason is that during nuclear fusion, the sun produces a massive amount of helium-3. And helium-3 is blown by the solar wind to surrounding celestial bodies and planets. Because Earth has a dense atmosphere, the solar wind cannot reach the surface.
Therefore, the natural reserves of helium-3 on Earth are very small.
But the moon is different. It has almost no atmosphere. So the solar wind can blow directly onto the moon's surface. And a large amount of helium-3 deposits on the moon's surface. The helium-3 content on Earth is very low, estimated at only about 100 kilograms in nature, plus about 600 kilograms from the byproduct of the decay of American and Russian G-trill nuclear warheads. That amount is insufficient to meet humanity's needs. Lunar soil contains at least 1 million tons of helium-3,
nearly 2 million times Earth's reserves.
Experts calculate
100 tons of helium-3 can supply global electricity for 1 year. 1 million tons is enough for 10,000 years.
If helium-3 can be mined from lunar soil, the nuclear power plant could be built right there. But extracting helium-3 from the moon is not easy.
First, lunar soil needs to be heated to over 700 degrees Celsius to extract helium-3. However, the moon has no oxygen, so burning is very difficult.
Moreover, helium-3 mining requires building a base on the moon, which no country has achieved yet. Other resources on the moon also offer great benefits. Silicon from the moon can be used to make semiconductor materials, helping produce solar panels for future residents. Silicon is estimated to make up 20% of lunar dust. Rare earth elements on the moon contain 17 metals, conduct electricity well, and are essential for producing phones and hybrid car batteries. But the supply of these minerals on Earth is unstable. Fortunately, high-quality rare earth mines can be built in abundant regions on the moon. Titanium is estimated to make up 8% of total lunar dust. This mineral is abundant in basalt rocks and exists mainly as the mineral ilmenite. Besides titanium, this mineral also contains iron and oxygen. Unlike the lowlands, the lunar highlands contain much metallic aluminum. This is a lightweight, durable material used in construction, aircraft manufacturing, and equipment. And it makes up 10 to 18% of the soil composition in these areas.
Technological development and economic growth attract many countries and companies to participate in exploration.
Space mining, which could lead to unfortunate consequences. Currently, the legal basis for outer space activities is the 1967 Outer Space Treaty, managed by the United Nations Space Agency. Accordingly, the treaty aims for freedom of space exploitation for all countries, but emphasizes that space is not subject to sovereignty or ownership by any country.
In particular, the treaty restricts the use and exploitation of resources on the moon,
for other planets only for peaceful purposes.
In 1979, the United Nations General Assembly developed a Moon Treaty to define. It is the common heritage of humanity and planned to establish an international agency
to manage resource exploitation there. However, the US and many countries with space programs refused to sign this treaty, later passing laws allowing legal ownership of resources that organizations or individuals extract in space.
This move was opposed by many experts, who argued
it violates the 1967
Outer Space Treaty. At the same time, public opinion is concerned about the clear ambitions of the US
and other countries regarding the moon,
exploiting resources exhaustively to dominate the satellite. Legal disputes continuously erupt regarding the United States and many other countries taking actions to monopolize space resources on the moon through a series of lunar conquest projects. Some opinions suggest realizing the idea of establishing a specialized agency to manage space,
or even specifically for the moon to manage the use of resources on this satellite.
Discussing the issue of space commercialization, as well as clarifying the true purpose of any country or organization wanting to exploit the moon. Furthermore, it's necessary to clarify where commercial disputes on military races to the moon would be handled if they occur, given that the United Nations International Court of Justice only adjudicates disputes on Earth. Clearly, this major issue is no longer a matter of the future.
As humanity faces the energy crisis, governments worldwide are seeking alternative energy sources.
High-tech companies have begun exploiting non-fossil energy sources,
from wind, solar, and surging rivers.
But that is not enough. Many countries have started looking for new energy sources outside Earth. With abundant resources and enormous reserves,
the moon is likely to become the mining site that superpowers compete for in the new century. From unmanned exploration to manned landings on the moon and establishing bases there.
China, Russia, and Western countries have spent countless human and material resources, not only to satisfy scientific achievements, but also driven by ambitions for infinite resources.
The moon has never received so much attention.
This celestial body is currently the pie that many major countries want to share of.
But whether for demonstrating capabilities or for research purposes, human space flights are gradually leading to lunar exploitation.
Finding ways to extract and store water on the moon is crucial for any human mission to the satellite.
Some space agencies have proposed plans to build bases on the moon in the coming decades,
and including plans to exploit resources on the moon.
If successful, this would be an excellent condition for humans to explore the moon specifically and space in general. When we can utilize lunar resources to create fuel for rockets, that will be an important step making human missions to Mars easier. The moon in the future could be considered like an outpost, a stopover for astronauts before exploring other distant planets. And moreover, we can use local resources to settle in space.